All right, so last week, the beginning of chapter 4, we talked about a bunch of vocab terms, talking about angle measures related to triangles and sides related to triangles and all that fun stuff. Okay, so now we're going to start putting them together a little bit. So here we're talking about the angle or the base angles theorem. So with a triangle that has two congruent sides, what kind of triangle is that?
That's Lee's triangle, Miss G.
It is an isosceles triangle, okay? What we know about isosceles triangles now is that the bottom two angles or the base angles are congruent. So label that in your picture there. These bottom two angles are congruent to each other. Okay? What does congruent mean? That they're the same or they're equal to each other, okay? So if this one is 52, what is this angle? 52. Okay, now let me ask you. If it wanted us to find this angle, how would we do that?
Put those two together, then minus them from 180.
Yes, why from 180? What is important? Why is 180 important?
Triangles add up to 180.
All angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. Okay, so what Gabe just said is we're going to add these two angles together.
104.
52 plus 52, which does give us 104. And then we're going to subtract that from 180.
Which would be 176.
Not 176, just 76. So this angle would be 76. Okay, so super important. Remember that all angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. Moving on here, it's the converse of the base angles theorem. So the base angles theorem said that the two angles of an isosceles triangle are congruent. So if those two angles are congruent, what do you know about those two sides?
They're congruent.
They're congruent. Okay, so these two sides right here are congruent to each other, which means what? They're the same, so they're equal to each other. So how do we set up an equation to solve for x? Set them equal to each other. X plus 3 equals 12. What's my one step to get x by itself?
Minus 3.
Subtract 3. So you get x equals 9. Yep. Okay, go ahead and try these three on your own using the base angles theorem and the converse of that theorem. Go ahead and try those three. On number 1, what does it tell us, or what do we know?
ISO.
Why do we know?
Because there's two lines.
Two sides.
Yep. The two sides are congruent, so according to the base angles theorem, if it's an isosceles triangle, what do you know about the two bottom angles?
Same.
They're the same or they're congruent to each other. So if this one's 50, what's y? 50. Okay. Using the converse, what do we know about number 2? What do we know about number 2? What are the same? The angles are the same. Okay, so if the angles are the same, we can assume what?
Sides are.
The sides are the same because it's an isosceles triangle. So if one side's 9, what's the other side? 9. Okay, what do we know on 3?
They're the same.
What are the same?
The two sides. Both
It shows us the angles are the same. Okay, so we can assume for isosceles triangle that they're the same. So how do we set up an equation if they're the same? Y plus 4 equals 16. What is my one step to get y by itself? Subtract 4 on both sides. So we get y equals 12. Yeah? Okay. Last one we're going to talk about here, we talked about equiangular. What does equiangular mean?
All the same angles.
Angles are all the same. All angles are the same, and they have to be acute angles, okay? So equiangular means all angles are congruent or they are the same. If all angles are the same, what this is saying is we can assume all sides are the same length. So if all angles are the same, all sides are the same. So how can we find x if we know those two sides are the same?
3x plus 2x plus 10. Can add the x's together, get 5x plus 10. And then
You're so mistaken.
And then take
10 equals
minus
x.
10 divided by 5. Get 2.
You have to have an equal sign in there.
Or x.
Yes, we got to have an
Yeah.
equal sign in there. How can I set this up?
10, I mean.
2x plus 10 equals
2x plus 10 equals 3x. So we are
Same thing.
we are setting those two sides equal to each other. Okay, because we know the sides are the same, we got to set them equal to each other. So what's my one step to get
Minus 2x.
x's? Yep. Subtract 2x. So you get 10 equals x.
Let's
And you're
go.
done. Okay? Any questions over these theorems we just talked about?
No.
I mean, I was right too.
They were.
No, I'm right.
You got
X6.
Okay.